Prof, the former ambassador, U.S. ambassador to Nigeria, John Campbell, was quoted as saying that Boko Haram is not a direct result of chronic poor governance by Nigeria's federal and state governments.
It does not understand what Nigeria really is. There are a lot of other parts of Nigeria that have not benefited of anything from the country, and yet they have not taken arms against the federal government in such a way. If you have a cause, to make the federal government to listen to you. Sometimes in those days, terrorism also was not for killing, was to making people aware of your demands. But these days it has gone beyond that to asymmetric threats and warfare. But now, what is the reason for Boko Haram? Is it bad governance? Is it underdevelopment? And if it is so, go back to the question: why must underdevelopment be in that part of the world, or that part of the country? Bearing in mind right from independence, who have we Nigerian? Answer those questions, and you will know that it is not, it is not, for me, it's not even a religious war. It's not a religious uprising. Because what we've had, they bombed a mosque. They bombed mosque to instill fear into people who believe that they are on the fence. You have to be with us. Or even if you are our brothers, we're going to kill you. Do we know why Boko Haram stand for? We don't even know. For me, when even the government decided that they are going to discuss with Boko Haram, I was taken aback. You don't discuss with a terrorist organization. You don't discuss with people that don't care about people's life and the lives of ordinary Nigerians. You use the force that you can to submit them, to oppress them, to make that place inhabitable for them. But you see, the government is caught in between and betwixt, in the sense that you are protecting a country, and you cannot totally go into that way like that, because you will cause a lot of what we call collateral damage. And then, to fight for the heart and minds of the people becomes difficult, because you've treated them as part of Boko Haram.
Who are friends now? Because now you've taken this argument into another realm. Recall the ceasefire, and we heard that the Chadian leader was on top of the game. He was meant to be the one to broker peace and the ceasefire. And experts like yourself have been trying to reel out some of the antecedents of the Chadian leader. Yes, it is Derby. And the question is, if we knew that he has a past like this, why would we trust him to come at the table of peace?
For me, if I were to say that, I will even conclude that from the beginning he wouldn't have been an honest broker. Because we should realize where his interest lies. After his country is also going through from the blowback from Darfur and all that, going through all such things. So is it the right person to have broker peace for Nigeria and Boko Haram insurgents? I doubt if he's the person. But sometimes attempts could be made, and then they will later realize that they've taken a wrong step.
And it slowed us down.
It did. For me, we should use a two-pronged attack. The military attack should be increased, as well as open the doors. Those who want to drop arms, we like to deal with them in a peaceful way. We're going to accept them, listen to what they have to say, carry out a project of de-radicalization, and bring them back into the Nigerian fold. If there are other issues that could be addressed in terms of the bread and butter issues, providing for them and all that, then the government could do that also. But that to go down and discuss with people that you don't even know them, you don't even know what they stand for, I think it's a bit difficult for me to swallow.
It's really a problem now, because we're looking at what is happening in Damaturu just a couple of days ago. The mosque was attacked in Kano. It was seem that 1 minute we're making progress, the next minute these people get desperate and, just to create maximum damage and instill the greatest fear, they go on rampage. They're trying to take on a state capital. Are you afraid of the sign that sends out?
I'm not that afraid, because I believe that insurgency, containing them has never been easy. Because sometimes, you've taken steps that you believe that you've contained them. Then they'll look for a window of opportunity and soft targets. They like to create impression that they are there. they will try as much as possible to do that. And then we have a lot of unmanageable spaces in our country, in the sense that markets, churches, mosques, synagogues, and all those places now, these are places that you believe that well-meaning people will not go and attack. Believing that they also believe in God, you will not believe that they will do that. But that's it. Can you guard all the churches in Nigeria or in that part of the world? Can you guide all the school building? Can you guide all the school of colleges and all that? Can you do that? Can you apportion one security officer to each individual in that part of the country? It's a difficult task. We must try as much as possible to be part of that system in containing this insurgency. As Nigerians, we cannot stand aside and say it's government's business. Security business is every person's business. What happens around you, around your house, the way when you're driving back from work in the night, the type of people you see on the road. It's just like, navigating your car through bad roads. You look at some areas that you don't pass. You look at areas that you can see, and you see new development in the area, you have to report it to the police station. The government's work is to catching up. They could come out and do this and shout. If the government kills them, government cannot come and talk and say, we killed so a member of Boko Haram. That's the problem with the state actor. You have to be concerned that you have a signatory to a lot of protocols and agreement with the international community.
But by me coming here, that you're a signatory to a lot of protocols and agreements and all of that. What about the question of integrity on the international scene? Nigeria has been known to send out peacekeepers to various locations, helping out in the insurgent situations around the world. But is it that our integrity internationally is in question? That's why we're not getting as much help as we should, appearing to.
If you can go backwards a bit, you could the French government,
yes,
the United States, the British government, all of them came forward because they realized that fighting terrorism can never be a nation-centered activity. Because if you look at the Boko Haram, the history, and also the trans-Saharan links they've developed, no country on its own can contain it. That's why we have to fight, come to work together in concert to make sure that we are able to work with other communities to deal with this issue. That's why it's not only a Nigerian problem. It will also gradually affect the countries in the sub-region. So that's why they must come together so that we can fight and contain this situation. Nigeria, no country alone on its own, has won an insurgent war.
You said we should recalibrate our relationship with the U.S.
Yes.
People wonder sometimes what you can do in return to a superpower, in quote, that they would also feel your displeasure at what they've done to you.
The fact is that people say that they don't need oil. Shale oil is just coming on stream in the United States. If the winter weather is that bad, the demand for oil will increase. Now we hear about dropping oil. Our oil is not only to the United States. We can sell oil wherever we want to China. The Chinese are ready and willing to even buy oil wells in the country and drill them. So we can get whatever we want. We can also not be part of United States arrangement in dealing with issues in Africa to show our displeasure at that.
Do we have that willpower?
Why don't we? They are not paying us the salaries of our citizens. They are not having soldiers on our soil here. They want us more also. In terms of that, why did they set up Apron? To securitize their interest in the region and in Africa as a whole. And Nigeria is a key player in that. You cannot do it without Nigerians' consent. So there are ways that we can also be spoilers for them. We cannot just always accept the refinements of democracy, diplomacy, to say that, we can't do that. Because no, there are times you have to go beyond that call and let them know that you cannot treat us like that. We also have things that we can do that will hurt you. If Nigeria withdraws from that trans-Saharan anti-terrorist organization set up by the United States, it will give them a blow also. But
would that be in our interest? Because we're talking about terrorists and it's in Africa.
Sometimes, as nations, you have to take stance. That whether it's your interest or not, you have to let others know you can't treat us like that. I would like people to think about countries like Iran. They've been under siege for over 30 years. They didn't die there. Cuba, more than 50 years, a small island nation, 90 miles away from Florida, is surviving under the threat of a superpower. At once, members of the country or citizens of the country know exactly what they are living for. I think some of them will bear hardship, believing that this nation has a bigger goal in the future.
But again, we have to lead by examples, and we're talking about leadership now, which is very, very key here and very, very important. Time was when the nation would readily stand up and say, we are the superpower in the region or regional powers, and our military can actually, take charge of any insurrection anywhere in the world or in the region. But as we speak now, we don't really know what has happened to the extent that we woke up, for instance, this morning, to what is happening in Damaturu, being taken over by some bandits.
You see, these are the new forms of war that we see. And then it is not only in Nigeria or in West Africa. If you listen to United States, CNN, you hear about gunshots and all over them. It does happen in countries like that. It does not make you lesser of a power because it happens. It's your ability to contain it that defines your status in the Committee of Nations. The federal government has tried in the past. They've tried to maintain something. They've tried to make it in such a way that they've tried to contain it. But at once you have that sort of little bit of stability, you believe that you are winning the battle. They look for another target to attack. You cannot totally believe that you will monitor every person's movement. You can't go and keep troops in the market squares on. Also, our markets are so open.
Well, in closing, take yourself as an advisor to the government on foreign affairs issue. What would you be saying to them in a minute?
What I'll tell them, I think they know already, we cannot depend on any particular source for acquiring of acquiring weapons. We cannot depend. Weapons acquisition, we have to re-examine our positions. It is not for individuals to go out to buy weapons for us. The security environment determines the type of weapon that you need for this type of conflict. We should source around, look for other sources of weapons, and forget about depending on the United States. It will do us no harm. It will do us a world of good if we can do that. That's what I would tell the government.
Well, Professor Charles Dokubo, we'd like to thank you so very much. He's of the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs. Well, sorry, still it takes a moment now. We'll return shortly to look at, the same matter from another perspective. Join us again.